Hey guys, Eckhart Slaughter. I hope everyone is doing as well as I am this weekend. I just wanted to pop in and say hi because tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm probably not going to upload. Got things to do, but I'm sure I'll be back to my regular schedule on Tuesday. This is going to be the first of possibly more rambling videos. Typically, when I have an idea, I'll do a lot of research, I'll write a script, I'll film, I'll cut it all together. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. But sometimes I kind of just want to talk and see where my brain leads me as I go, because, often when you're talking and your brain starts getting ahead of you or behind you, some interesting things come out. So that's what today's going to be about. So if you're not interested in that, and if you are more interested in the facts or the lists and the stuff I make, please feel free to skip this. There'll be something for you on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, probably every day this week. So anyway, I was streaming yesterday and hanging out with some people. We talked about Star Wars for about 2 hours, and it was a really great time. And there were a couple questions that I've really been mulling over in my brain, more than usual anyway. And the first is, what do you think the title of The Last Jedi means? So this is a really good question because the title is completely ambiguous. And being as it's the first thing we've gotten about the movie, I think it's really worth some analysis. I've done this analysis myself because, the background on my phone right now is the logo for The Last Jedi. So every time I open it, I take a look and I think about it a little bit. So there's a few theories, and they're pretty much all just based on a literal reading of the name. And the first is that The Last Jedi means that at the time of the film, there is either one Jedi or a small group of Jedi. And that's just because Jedi plural and Jedi singular are the exact same. So I don't think there being one Jedi at the time of the film makes any sense. Just because we know that Rey exists, we know that Luke exists, I think it's very unlikely that they kill Luke in this movie. Even more unlikely they kill Rey, and we know that Luke is probably training Rey. So calling either of them The Last Jedi at the time of the film doesn't really make any sense to me. The other idea is that there's a small group of Jedi left who are the Last Jedi collectively, because we know that Jedi plural is the exact same as Jedi singular. You say, we've got a gaggle of Jedi, or we've got a single Jedi. There's a Jedi sitting at the bar, or there are Jedi sitting at the bar. So perhaps the title of The Last Jedi refers to multiple people. So maybe Rey, Kylo Ren, and Luke collectively. Maybe Luke's students, if he's got any left. We don't think so, but maybe he does. Maybe they're the Last Jedi. So that's, I think, a better theory, but it's not the one that I personally stand behind. So I think The Last Jedi basically just refers to Luke Skywalker returning to the universe. We know Episode 7 was all about the journey to find Luke. Where is Luke? Where is he hiding? Can we return him to the universe because he's a real asset? And we know that after Yoda died, after Obi-Wan Kenobi died, Luke was the Last Jedi in the universe. And this is kind of almost like a mythological status to be the Last Jedi. It's like people hear Luke Skywalker and like, oh my god, he was the one who defeated the Empire. He was the Last Jedi. And I believe in the Episode 7 opening crawl, they even say they searched for Luke Skywalker, the Last Jedi, or something like that. So I really think that the title is about, it's just referring to the fact that the Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker, has returned to the fray. He's back in action. And to me, that signals that he will have a major role in this movie. And I don't think that was ever in question, but I think it really tells me that although we've got these new kids, we've got, Rey and Poe and Finn and everybody else, it's still the story of Luke. He's sharing that story now, but the second I saw this title, I didn't think, oh, there's only one Jedi left. There are only a few Jedi left because we've got Luke Skywalker and we know that he wants to train Jedi, and I never thought that he would let the Jedi Order die. I've always thought, so Luke Skywalker is back. And yeah, that's kind of where I've always been on this point. And I guess there's a fourth option, which is that after whatever happens in The Last Jedi, there will be no Jedi left. So what this would suggest to me, and I know that this is a theory that a lot of people like, is that the Jedi will be heading towards a more gray outlook on the Force. So rather than there just being a Jedi, Sith, and if you're a Jedi, you only use the light side, and you're a Sith, you only use the dark side, perhaps we will just see Force users who don't label themselves. And I guess we could see some of this with we know Luke's been through some major trauma, and that maybe he's not interested in the Jedi Order anymore. And on the other hand, we see Kylo Ren, who, although he tries to embrace the dark side, doesn't label himself as a Sith, and he's fighting off the light side. And then we have Rey, who is an extremely powerful Force user already, but is not trained in the light side of the Force and could easily give in to anger at some point. So I know that a lot of people like that idea of the Jedi going gray, and it's certainly an interesting theory, but I'm not sure I agree with that. I think Star Wars has always been pretty morally black and white, You've got the good guys and you've got the bad guys, and the good guys don't believe in hatred or anger, the bad guys do. And I mean, one of my favorite lines in the original, probably my favorite line in the original trilogy period, is when Luke says, "I'm a Jedi like my father before me." So regardless of whether they were a perfect order, and I think really the prequel trilogy kind of put that into question a little bit more than it was before that, the Jedi still represent good, and Star Wars has always been more space fantasy than science fiction, and has always been really big on the whole light versus dark dichotomy, and I don't think that we're going to throw that away to bring in something morally gray, especially where the Jedi, like the term Jedi is just so ubiquitous, and it's such an important part to the Star Wars brand. Like, I remember reading about how people will list themselves as Jedi on religious census forms, and I mean, I don't know, I just don't think Star Wars is going to lose that in favor of something morally gray. So basically, to summarize, I in my mind there are four main theories about the title. One being that during the film something happens such that there's no Jedi afterwards. Either all the Jedi are killed, which I don't think is likely, or they stop referring to themselves as Jedi, which I also don't think is likely. There are also the two theories about there being only one Jedi or a small group of Jedi left, and I certainly don't think there are one Jedi, because we know that Luke exists and Rey exists, and presumably Luke will train Rey. It would just seem weird otherwise. And we also know that I don't think that they are the last of the Jedi. I think there will be more to come. And then there's my theory, the one that I believe in, that is Luke Skywalker was the last Jedi at one point, and that is really his famous, what makes him famous. So now that he's returning into the galaxy, basically, because he secluded himself, this is the return of the Last Jedi. Like, I feel like the movie could be called The Return of the Last Jedi, and although it would be a really shitty name, it would kind of encapsulate what's going to happen. The second thing I want to rant about today is the Unknown Regions, the Yuzang Vong. What's going to happen with them? This is definitely the thing I'm asked most in my videos, like in the comment section, and I was asked it a few times during the live stream, and it's, do you really think that something is going to happen in the Unknown Regions? Has the Yuzang Vong returned? What is going on? And I think it's obvious that we are going to the Unknown Regions, because I mean, we've been there already. That's where Starkiller Base was. And if one book in the Star Wars Expanded Universe referred to the Unknown Regions, if it was just in, Empire's End that we talked about the Unknown Regions, fine. I would say, okay, maybe it's just something they're going to explore in a future timeline. But the fact that we've now had, I think, like 3 or 4 books that have referred to the Unknown Region, all of the Aftermath trilogy is pretty heavy on the reference to the Unknown Region. We know that Jakku, which has already been a major player in the new series, has a research, or what are they called again? An observatory pointed towards the Unknown Region, and that Palpatine senses something in the Unknown Region, and that the eclipse is in the Unknown Region. And again, whether that's the eclipse a Super Star Destroyer or an Eclipse-class Super Star Destroyer, we don't know. We know that he keeps Grand Admiral Thrawn around partially because of his knowledge of the unknown region. And then we also have the fact that there are Imperials headed there to try to find a Super Star Destroyer. We know that Grand Admiral Thrawn in the Thrawn book talks about how he's got a fear of something in the unknown region and how something there is pushing heavy on his empire, the Chiss Ascendancy. I don't know if that's actually their official name again, but this is just repeated references. And I mean, obviously, the new canon has really, like in the old universe, the movies were already made by the time the expanded universe stuff was coming out. So when you had something in a book, you probably knew it wasn't going to be reflected in a movie. But here we have references and references and references, and movies are still being made. So we know that these books are being written for Star Wars fans, and Star Wars fans are going to expect to see the major plot points addressed within the movies. As to the question of whether the Yuzang Vong is going to appear in, whether they're the threats from the unknown region or not, this might piss some people off, but I think the answer is obviously not. I know the counter argument to that is, oh well, they were almost featured in the Clone Wars TV show, blah 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 blah, and that's fine. Two things to say about that: they weren't featured, and probably for good reason. And two, that doesn't speak to the current storytelling direction that Lucasfilm is taking now. Also is the fact that Star Wars is consumed by just a very, very large amount of people, the majority of which don't read the books. Probably 5% of people that see a Star Wars movie have read a book, have read a Star Wars book, or actively read Star Wars books. Like, I said this in either the live stream or a previous video. If you go to see Star Wars and you look on your left and your right, chances are the person next to you probably hasn't read the book, any of the books. So to bring back a race like that out of nowhere, when they were only featured in the expanded universe before now, like I don't know. It makes almost no sense to me. The much more obvious idea is that it's Snoke. Like it must be Snoke, because he's some mysterious dark entity who he almost literally looks like a puppet master, the way he sits in a throne above Kylo Ren. Like, it seems obvious that he's the dark force that's being referred to. And I mean, it almost seems kind of obvious to me that he's probably in the Eclipse, that's going to be a big point in the next movie. So the question of whether the unknown regions will be featured is a resounding yes. People have asked whether they'll be featured in 10, 11, and 12, and I mean, I can't know. All I know is that there will be a 10 and 11, 12, because Star Wars makes an absolutely stupid amount of money. So yeah, that's just my thoughts, guys. To recap, yes, unknown regions, not Yuzang Vong. Probably Snoke. He's probably chilling in the Eclipse. The Last Jedi means Luke's return to the galaxy. And yeah, if you have more questions for me, like, I really love just... I don't want to do these videos if it turns people off. Like, I know you guys really enjoyed the tightly edited, very fact-based stuff I do more often. But I do kind of like doing these ranting and rambling videos. But if you guys don't like it, I'll keep it to live stream. If you do, though, leave a like on this video and put something that you want me to talk about, and I will. Maybe if this is something you guys like, I'll do it once every Sunday, and it can be a thing. Just like Minor Characters of Star Wars, which is going to come out on Thursday, will be a thing. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed the content I put out this weekend. The support has been really overwhelming, and it makes me happy, especially every time I see someone ask me, oh, how don't you have more subscribers? That means that you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. So as long as you guys do, whether my subscriber count drops by 20, stays the same, goes up by 200,000, I'm going to keep making videos you guys like. So if you got this long, please leave a comment down below telling me your favorite Star Wars race. And until next time, guys, may the Force be with you.